Good morning, everyone. You all know me. I'm Sandy Warner, the broker owner at Warner Realty Group. And if you're getting this video, we have a relationship where I manage your short-term rental. As you all should know by now, the city is in a kerfuffle. They are really ramping up their enforcement and their understanding and their codification of the rules around short-term rentals. I want to do a single recording that you can refer to if you need and help you understand what I know so far and what we're doing to stay ahead of everything. The first thing I want to let you know is I'm going to share the screen with you in just a second. The city did a workshop at the end of September that kind of went over a lot of this, and I was able to get a copy of the slides, which I think will make things a little bit easier for everyone. So hopefully you can see this. Let me just get that out of the way. Okay, let me get this, see if I can get this full screen. Okay, so this was a workshop that they did. They advertised it as a workshop on how to rent the properties, but what they really didn't say was that this really had to do with how they were going to enforce this. So it's a little confusing for people. I don't know that everybody went or even knew this was happening. So they started out with a brief history. This has to do specifically with rooming houses and some of the grandfathered clauses that were going with that. And I'll talk about why that's important in a minute. The problems that are coming up in Newport that the city was specifically addressing, remember, they're answering to everyone, not just the people who own the short-term properties, but the people who are impacted, whether negatively or positively, about short-term rental properties in their neighborhood. The problems and concerns is that it is contributing to a rapid increase in property values. Rhode Island on the whole saw a 28% increase from July to July of 1 year. Now, yes, that is fantastic if you're a property owner, but where that creates a problem is if you are a property owner that owns a property whose taxes skyrocketed and you're on a fixed income. It contributed negatively to the supply of moderately priced dwelling units, which did have a very negative impact on our restaurant and hospitality industry this year. And it contributes to a loss of community. It's the dark house phenomenon that many streets are just completely dark at night because they're empty. The homes are empty. So that's not a bad thing. This is happening across the country. Nobody is criticizing anyone who is involved in this. The benefits are that it did provide supplemental lodging. Newport has seen a vast increase in people coming to visit it, and it's a major tax benefit for the city. The other thing is it's a huge benefit to people who were able to capture the equity out of their properties and sell them. So they just went through some of the statistics, the tax revenue, the general locations of the properties that were compliant and not compliant. So one of the problems they saw is we had a big increase in registrations in 2019, and then it dropped off again in 20 and 21. I'm not entirely sure that's accurate because I know of one registration that we did that got lost, and we actually have the canceled check. So, but anyway, this is what the city is recording. And remember, they don't have a lot of bodies handling this. So I'm sure they're doing a great job, but everything, garbage in, garbage out is how data works. So they did see also a pretty significant drop off in the city's share of the taxes that were getting paid. If you can see here, they were up at 2.5 million, and then in 2021, where we definitely had way more properties doing this, massive increase, a $500,000 increase, decrease in city revenue. This is a small version. This is the whole city of Newport. It's very difficult to see, I think, on this, but there's a blow up down here. And what you're looking at is these are the registered and unregistered properties that the city has identified. They're using a third-party vendor who is searching Vrbo, Airbnb, just regular old tax sites, any kind of Google search that shows you what is rentable on a short-term basis. This happens to be identifying for anything in a red star is non-compliant and anything in a green star is compliant. They went on to talk about Airbnb use. They really don't identify. I don't know why this was such a big thing, but I think the important thing is they're talking completely about short-term rentals. Short-term rentals is the category, Airbnb, VRBO, any kind of website is the subcategory. A guest house is, they are identifying it as a building in which one or more dwelling units or rooms for sleeping are rented for lodging occupations for less than 29 days. That's why you hear that for if you're on Airbnb for 30 days or more, you're okay. You're only doing 30-day rentals. I'm thinking that's how I read this. This is, I haven't had anyone tell me anything different, but they are working through this. In those districts where they're permitted by right, you just have to register. I think this language here, the second sentence, the requirement for the owner or manager to reside shall not apply. So you could get a special use permit if you were in an area where it wasn't provided by right. I think this is very unclear, and this seems to contradict completely 17.300I.9 in the zoning code, but I don't think it's been litigated yet, and I don't think it's been resolved. Guest facilities means establishments for renting rooms or dwelling units. Transient guest facilities are buildings with rooms or units offered to the public for occupancy as lodging accommodations on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis and dependent on external facilities to the room or unit for the furnishing of meals. So basically, you're not a B&B. You're not also providing meals to them. Home occupation. This refers specifically to the city municipal code. It is a long code. I think it's copied in here. If not, I'll send it to anybody who wants it. One of the things that we've always done because of that language in the guest house statute that says if you have a owner or a property manager on site, you're permitted. Well, this is contradicted in the zoning code, the home occupation zoning code. I suspect we'll see some litigation come out of this. It's just going to depend on whether a homeowner decides they want to hire an attorney and go fight this. So, a guest use is permitted by right if you are in limited business, waterfront business, general business, or commercial. This doesn't say that, but we don't really have any commercial zones where these properties are at. You can do this if you get a special use permit, if you happen to be in an R3, R10, R20, or R40. If it's not permitted by right, it is prohibited. This 17.100.130 home occupations, this is, they make it look like it's this big, but this particular provision inside the municipal code, this is like on the second page as a sub rule. I think somebody got smart and remembered that it was here in the city code, and now they're using it to clamp down on those properties where the owner or a property manager lives in the building and just rents a room. This does not apply to any of you. I don't think any of you are actually living in your property or have a property manager in the property. So here's the process. This is new, maybe it's not new to them, but nobody's ever said this to us or literally ever brought this up. The city and the fire, whenever they're coming and scheduling with us, they always ask us what day we can come in. They have asked us whether we've had guests there. So I think they've realized they've gotten really far behind this. And now I think this is repeated a lot now, that you cannot operate until you've received a license to do so. And it does make sense. I understand it. It does speak specifically to the increased political will in the city to get a handle on this. So where it was very lax, the pendulum has swung and now it's very, very strict. So the process is we have to go to City Hall. We fill out an application. We have to tell them what we're doing, how many bedrooms. We have to create a little drawing of the building. Many of you know that we have floor plans done when we do your building so that we can give it to the city. Some of you have been with me for a long time, and our process develops over time. The more we learn, we try to react to what the city wants and needs at any given time. So once you file with it goes into the clerk's office at City Hall. They confirm that you're in the right zoning area. You pay a $15 fee, and then it gets routed to the compliance officer. And then the compliance officer confirms that what you say your zone is actually what your house is in. So if you fill out on the registration that you're in the WB, it will go to the compliance officer, who I believe is Kevin Sullivan. I think that's his title. And he'll say, yes, okay, I'm looking it up on the map. Yes, it is in the WB. He then sends it to the fire marshal and the building official to review and sign off. If you've never been reviewed, they're probably going to come in and do a new property we did this summer on Thames Street. I have a whole little parade. I had the plumbing official. I had the electric, the electric inspector. I had the building inspector, and basically they're making sure it's a proper building. It's really not a big process, and they're very pleasant about it. It really gets hung up in the clerk's office, and actually, here's why. So once the RCO, once the rental compliance officer receives the approvals from fire and building, he forwards it back to the city clerk's office. Here's where a couple of mine have gotten stuck. I have properties where the owner owns many, many, many properties, and the city clerk's office goes with the tax collection to ensure all tax payments are current. That actually isn't the problem, but they're also checking water bills. And if you have multiple properties and all of your water bills aren't all paid on time, you'll get hung up there. So I've had to go and do appeals to them and say, look, there are 55 properties. They're all owned by LLCs. And yes, it's the same person, but they're all owned individually. So we are working with them, but all of this takes a lot of time. Once you get tax clearance, the applicant is notified. You then have to go back to City Hall. You have to pay $100 now to pick up your license, and you pick up the actual license, at which point that has to be posted in the property. Again, they say we cannot operate a guest house until you've received a license to do so. Now, all of us know that this is next to impossible. Here's why this is impossible. Number one, your calendar is open year-round. If you're a legal Airbnb, we have the calendar open year-round. Number two, we get hung up in the office, and they will, if they have the say, for example, they have the 2021 form still up on City Hall, and you fill it out to get ahead of schedule, they will not tell you until you've gone through all of that your form says 2021 on it. This happened to me. And then you've gone through the process, but now you have to start all over again because they didn't have the right form posted. It is archaic, you guys. It is parochial. It is difficult. It is challenging. Also, I mean, I don't know, you cannot register for right now, you cannot register for the 2022 summer until May of 2022. And because they don't even put the forms up right now. So we're going to see a lot of litigation out here. I personally am not going to do it. I'm hoping owners get together to do it. We got to find an attorney who will take this. It could be expensive, but this is a hot mess right now. We are working on it. I am trying to stay very, very calm. Some of you are getting summonses. I don't know what to tell you. I am not familiar with municipal court. I am asking other attorneys, can we get it solved in advance? I've already got emails out to the prosecuting compliance officer. He just hasn't gotten back to me yet. I will tell you that at the same time they're getting slammed because the real estate market is so busy, and they're all involved in that as well. So here's the enforcement that they're doing. The history of the enforcement, they literally put up a case that had no disposition. It was an appeal where this appeal appealed a decision of the zoning officer. She wanted to be able to be a compliance. The zoning board of review denied the appeal. The appeal was appealed to Newport Superior Court, and it got dismissed with no decision. So there's no litigation out here on this because nobody's wanted to fight it and nobody's taken it through the courts. So when I tell you I don't know, I don't know. We've got conflicting municipal codes, zoning codes versus municipal codes. The language is confusing. They're working on it. We're working on it. We're trying to go through it. This is just the enforcement team. I don't know if you find this, they don't even put anybody's names there. So they have host compliance, which is their third-party system, which kind of goes through and tells them who's advertising. They have Newport Police that help them if they get noise violations. There are, I don't know who hundreds of compliance volunteers are. I believe those are your neighbors. There are subpoenas of occupants of charged properties. So if they get, I know you all heard about the story on Thames Street where somebody rented an Airbnb and they actually had a murder there. All those people were subpoenaed. And then there's section 5.40.020 of the municipal code. I don't know what this means, typical week of enforcement. That could be a fine. I really don't know what it means. I don't believe it was discussed. I missed it completely. Postings, we are supposed to have things posted inside the house. We're double checking. I'm working with Sue on that to make sure everyone who's legit, we have it posted in your house. Obviously, if you are not registered, I have nothing to post. Nuisance related offenses, that's noise, that's people going in and having parties. It's funny, a lot of times the neighbors will not report it. Trash that is not managed, whether it doesn't go out or come back in, we make sure it goes out and comes back in every week. We're on that. Parking offenses, we have lots of language in our listings that talk about where you can and cannot park. One of the things I started doing this year, never heard them do this. They've never had the bodies to do this. They're actually checking if we registered you as a 2-bedroom, they're going on and seeing if we have a 3-bedroom. That has never been checked, but they've never ever brought this up with me. If I register a 2-bedroom and then all of the enforcement officials come through, no one ever points out that I've registered as a 2 and now I'm a 3. So that's new, and we're going to adjust to that and we're going to work with that. This is applications filed but not licensed. They're really cracking down now. We may have an application in process and we're already got it advertised. We've always been able to do that. That has been beneficial to you all. You've all been able to make money on that, and now we can't do that anymore. Suspected guest house hits. So they think there's 307 properties. Of the 307 identified, 181 have been certified as operating without registering. As a result of that list, our staff has issued 129 citations there, and this was in September. There have been more. They've had 21,000 in fines. Now, just remember, I don't know what the fines are. 181, 129 let's see, 181 cited divided by 21,000. That means, let's see, 21,000 divided by 181. So that looks like about an average of $116 in fines. I know you're all freaking out about this. I get it. I'm with you. It says 10 have reached settlement with a proposed assessment of $2,900 in fines, which is $290. I get it. Bear with us. We're working through this. This is all about special use permits. These are the ones that were received and approved. So their solution is, here's what they're trying to do, because we keep asking them to do this. Provide a clear policy addressing the impact of guest house uses to neighborhoods. Should this be permitted at all in residential zoning districts? I get it. If it's making you money and it increases the value and you want to use your house that way, obviously your answer is yes. But if you live next door and you live there full time and you're the only one with a family with kids and the rest of the house is dark, and a good example was dark streets during Halloween. I think it's just important for us to have a little bit of understanding of how other people are viewing it, and that way we can have a good conversation with the city and with our neighborhoods. They did encourage the establishment of neighborhood watches, possibly because the neighbor goes in and yells at City Hall, and really City Hall can't do anything after the fact, so City Hall is saying, hey, you got a party there, call the police. They are going to support, or they're suggesting possibly supporting resubmission of House Bill 5505A, which was a very strict and stringent registration requirement that the governor did veto. We do think that the bill itself as written didn't make sense, but if it does come in, it's going to severely impact your ability to make money. Consider tax classification changes to promote long-term dwelling occupancy. Basically what they're saying is if you're using it as a short-term, you're going to see an increased property tax. Honestly, Newport's property taxes, I know a lot of you may not agree with me, but they're really per mill, they're really quite fair compared to the rest of the state. But they would just say that if you are using it as commercial use, you'd be taxed on a commercial rate. So I know that that was fast. I hope that gives you some idea of what we're trying to do. I don't think anyone should panic. I don't think we should be reacting in a knee-jerk reaction. I know it's super, super scary if you're getting a summons. We are on top of it. Please understand that while I am an attorney and I know how to go and work through this, the advantage to that to you is that I just don't panic and go, oh my God, we're all done. It doesn't mean I'm a lobbyist. It doesn't mean that I'm going to initiate a lawsuit against the city. Nobody's hired me to do that. That's not my job. I am your property manager with an understanding of how to work with the city. If you guys want to all get together and do a class action suit, I could certainly suggest an attorney that might want to take that on. And I think maybe we need to do some of that and litigate some of this. But in the meantime, we just are doing the very best that we can and trying to keep the city on our side and work with us. And we will continue to address this and keep you posted as much as we can. Let me know what your questions are, and I'll talk to you soon.